Well, oh my gosh, the bullshit never ends. It never ends, folks. Never ends. I'm just waiting on people. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and play it. Screw it.
All right, guys, KB32 here. Check it out. So we're sitting in the Freedom Office, and I wanted to follow up a video I did yesterday talking about Joe Biden and the big meeting they're going to have today, talking about gun control and everything else. But I want to preface this video with a couple statements that are really applicable to what's going on in our environment with this administration. Number one, he's destroyed our energy independence, the highest gas prices in history. Number two, the highest inflation rate in our history, a hidden tax on all people that really affect more or less the poor people, who pretty much are those guys in the big cities who don't use a car and everything else, and you voted for the guy. You do not get credit for people returning to work, which is funny because he thinks he's created this employment market. No, you did not do this. Our southern border security is non-existent. Which pretty much means that you're not doing your job. You've lost our standing as a global leader with the pullout catastrophe in Afghanistan. You're all about defunding police, and don't lie about it. Oh, I'm not for that bullshit.
Oh my gosh, here we go again with this whole don't defund the police or defund the police bullshit. Let me tell you something. I personally don't give a crap about the cops. This whole Black Lives Matter, Blue Lives Matter bullshit, it's nothing but, oh, poor me. It's nothing but that poor me kind of game. It's nothing but that. Oh, poor me. The frick. That's all it is. Oh, poor me. Oh, poor me, guys. Oh, poor me. I could care less about your profession. Quite honestly, maybe instead of worrying about if the police are going to be defunded or not, maybe you should, worry about and actually push to demilitarize the police. Demilitarize the police. That's the main thing that needs to happen nationwide. Demilitarize the police. I say again, demilitarize the police. That needs to happen. And I gotta say, Kotaboy32 Tactical, you praise your boys and girls in blue. Guess who's gonna confiscate your firearms? Guess who's gonna be there to do that? The cops. Along with the feds, you got FBI, U.S. Marshals, ATF, and possibly Homeland Security. And then, of course, you got local and state police. Oh, my gosh.
yes, you are destroying our way of life, and now you want to start the ban game on our Second Amendment. Okay, so now that we've prefaced that whole thing, I had to come up with some ideas because, in all honesty, the things that are happening today in our society are incredible. Now you want to play the blame game, blaming guns for what's going on in our country.
I mean, yeah, it's bullshit that Biden and the liberals and every Democrat politician wants to blame guns alone. Yeah, it's bullshit. But really, where does the blame really go to? You, me, everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a libertarian, a conservative, or a liberal. Everybody shares the blame because we failed to keep the U.S. government in check. It's just the way it is. Real freaking talk, Kotaboy32. Even though you call yourself KB32 Tactical now.
I've written this down so I don't forget it. We don't have a gun problem. We've got a people problem that you don't want to address. Just like the energy industry, you want to blame the firearm industry for everything that happens. No, sir. It is your district attorneys, those people in the blue cities, people going out shooting folks, and you let them out the same day. How does that work? And how is that a guns problem? Okay.
Maybe instead of, like I said, realizing it's the other side's problem, but also it's your side of the problem. Your side is part of the problem too. Honestly, your side should be blamed for what's going on today more than anybody else. Just being honest. Because you and I failed to keep the U.S. government in check. Pure and simple.
What's coming up? This is what I anticipate is going to happen. Okay. It's going to be the typical everyday thing, ban everything that possibly can. And there's about 6 items that I feel like they're going to try to hammer us out. We're not even going to talk about Gettleman because that's a complete waste of time. It's a favor for a buddy. It's the old roommate for Barack Obama at Harvard. And this guy was a district attorney. He has no knowledge of the firearm industry. You could probably tell him that this right here is a machine gun. And he'd be like, we got to ban that.
Don't pull a freaking CRS firearms now. Don't do that.
So it just goes on and on and on. So here's what I think. And it's no big surprise. And tell me down below if you agree with me on this or not. All right. So one, of course, they're going to go after magazines. And what's the old deal is that you don't need a 30-round magazine or 100-round clipazoid or whatever these dumbasses want to call it to go hunting deer. And which is, again, the whole thing is about we don't have the Second Amendment for hunting deer. Right? I mean, how often do they get that? And their idea is that you shouldn't have anything.
Okay, first of all, you all keep on saying that we have for the Second Amendment right to defend ourselves. First and foremost, the Second Amendment does not grant you the right to keep and bear arms. It simply protects it from government overreach. If you really believe that a piece of paper protects your right, then you're stupid enough to believe that a restraining order works. No, it doesn't. Earth Dakota boy, come back to earth. Come back to reality. Now, going back to what I said, you all say that we have a Second Amendment right to protect ourselves. Realistically speaking, how many times do you have to protect yourself with a gun? Not that much. Maybe less than once in a blue moon kind of deal. I mean, how many times have you actually defended yourself, Kotaboy32? How many times? I know you don't live in Chicago. Yep, pretty much, Tag. That's all they say. When tyranny becomes law, rebellion becomes duty, guys. And they say, shall not be infringed. Okay, well, It is what it is. My gosh.
That we shouldn't actually. They just want to take everything away from us. I don't know what they're afraid of. It's kind of like when Chuck Schumer tried to do the whole anti.
Do you really believe that the government is afraid of you or me or anyone else? You know, I actually been thinking about this. You know, the people who say that they're not afraid of government or they say that the government fears us, it's probably a mixture of both. That the government doesn't is not scared of us and we're not scared of the government. It's probably a mixture of both. Or the government fears us while we fear the government. You actually believe the bullshit that you spew out of your freaking mouth.
Body armor deal where you couldn't buy personal protection. Why would they do that? So that they can kill you. That's why. There's no other reason. All right, so we're going to also, number 2, the so-called assault weapons ban. They're going to try to do that as well. They're going to call for it. If they can't do it, they're going to try to call for it. There's no reason why any individual, human being should have one of these things. Why do you need that? And just a mere idea that you're questioning my ability to exercise my Second Amendment right is a chapping.
You know, you say you're pissed off when people question your ability to exercise your Second Amendment right to carry and all that. But when people open carry, you question that. That's some hypocritical bullshit, if you ask me. That's some hypocritical bullshit on your part. Hypocritical bullshit. Let me read.
Have one of these things ordered. Why do you need that? And just a mere idea that you're questioning my ability to exercise my Second Amendment right is a chapping rear end there.
Again, you keep on saying my Second Amendment right. No, the Second Amendment doesn't grant you shit. It protects your natural born right to keep and own firearms and to bear firearms. But I find it ironic that you say, well, you question my ability to, carry or own firearms, but then you question people like me who open carry. Wow. That's all I got to say about that.
They're also going to call, and in my opinion, a ban on mail order gun parts. And not just the polymer 80s. We're going to talk about that here in a minute, but any part. Or they're going to say that if you want an upper receiver, it's going to be serialized and you have to go through a background check. Or if you wanted, I don't know, a tripod head for your camera work. It's one of those things. It just blows me away. So mail order gun parts is one of the items I think you're going to get rid of. Mail order polymer 80 kits, we definitely know they've been coming after that for a very long time. So I feel there's no reason to think that this is not going to be the same. They're also, in my opinion, going to go out for a ban on mail order ammo so that you have to go through a background check, which is absolutely bullshit.
Well, it's absolutely bullshit that we have to go through background checks to get firearms to begin with. You didn't have to go through background checks to get firearms in the Wild West days. Why? Why has it changed? Why? Everybody talks about the good old days back in the 1950s, 1940s. Everything was much more cheaper back then. Why did it change? I mean, I get it that technology changes and all that, but it's the same old bullshit, really. Same old bullshit.
And one of the other items is they're going to get rid of PLICO, which is the ability to sue gun manufacturers. This is it. They're going to be, well, why can't you can sue Ford, but you can't sue a gun manufacturer. Well, you can sue Ford for a defect that causes death. You can also sue a gun manufacturer for a defect that causes death, but you can't sue Ford for someone going out and running into a bunch of people with one of their vans. Why does that mean that you get to do the same thing to a manufacturer of a firearm? Because one is they have no skin in the game. Two, fucking Barack Obama. No, what is his name? Biden. Remember, he rode the train back.
And you think you have some skin in the game? Because based on what I've seen, the liberals and the conservatives, they have no skin in the game. They really don't. People like you, folks like you keep on saying, my God-given Second Amendment rights. My God-given Second Amendment rights. Once again, the Constitution doesn't grant you rights. It doesn't grant you shit. You think a piece of paper is going to protect your rights? You're stupid enough to believe that a restraining order is going to protect you. That's some bullshit.
Back and forth, so he doesn't care about the record high fuel prices because, well, that's the greed of the fuel industry. Don't get me started here, ladies and gentlemen. And he's surrounded by security. So he doesn't care about you or me or our ability to protect our rights, because you can do it with a 22 caliber lever action single shot, right?
You'd be surprised what a 22 caliber can do. You'd be surprised. From what I've heard, I've been proven wrong about the 22 calibers. Before I wasn't a fan of them, but I found out what they can do. Once it's inside your body, you shoot someone somewhere around here or anywhere in your body, especially in your leg, when it gets into the, that bullet rubs against that main artery in your thigh area, your legs, and it cuts it, or something is going on, and it creates some kind of infection. It becomes fatal, doesn't it? Don't sit there and say that a 22 ain't going to do much shot from a lever action. That's like saying a 380 ain't going to do much. A bullet is still a bullet. Doesn't matter what caliber it is. Now, compare that to a 50 BMG. Yeah, that's going to vaporize. Yeah, it's going to vaporize me if I ever got shot by a freaking 50 BMG. Guaranteed.
So anyway, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Those are the things that I think that they're going to be kicking out in today's meeting. It should be interesting. With that being said, guys, always end them like this. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe and haven't done so. Support the red, white, and blue. God bless America. God bless us men, women in uniform.
And guess who those men and women in uniform are going to do? When someone at the top says, hey, confiscate this person's firearms, confiscate this person's FRT triggers, solvent traps, auto key cards. Look what just happened to CRS firearms. Personally, I don't like CRS firearms, but then again, did he deserve to be arrested? No, he did not deserve to be arrested. But all I'm saying is, where was the support for Justin Irvin, who was arrested for the same exact thing? Where was his support? Where? That's what I want to know. Where was his support? Where was his GoFundMe page? Where? I want to know that. Man.
Out there, my beloved 82nd Airborne, sitting right over there across the border in Poland. You guys take care of yourself. I'm KB32.
Wait, what did you just say?
Video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe and haven't done so. Support the red, white, and blue. God bless America. God bless us men, women in uniform. Out there, my beloved 82nd Airborne, sitting right over there across the border in Poland. You guys take care of yourself.
So you're going to support the 82nd Airborne if they're engaged in a war with Russia. So then you probably support the current thing. No. Once again, I don't support Russia. I don't support Ukraine either. Why is our troops over there in Poland to begin with, or Estonia? I don't know. Do you really think Russia is stupid enough to attack NATO countries? Part of me says not so much, but a part of me says, never say never. I got to hear you what you said about 22 calibers.
And Barack Obama, no, what is his name? Biden. Remember, he rode the train back and forth, so he doesn't care about the record high fuel prices because, well, that's the greed of the fuel industry. Don't get me started here, ladies and gentlemen. And he's surrounded by security. So he doesn't care about you or me or our ability to protect our rights, because you can do it with a 22 caliber lever action single shot, right? So anyway, let me know what your thoughts are down below.
Well, the single shot, I can understand, ain't gonna do much, but at 22, regardless, later on, you're gonna have some infections because of that 22 LR when it dislodges in your body, goes from one point to right here or over here or something like that. Who knows? 22s are just as, it's all about placement, where you shoot. That's all it is. Oh my gosh. The stupidity in this country. You know, Kotaboy32 Tactical, you should have taken Freedom Inc.'s offer to do that um debate thing. And that's what needs to be done, especially with people that you don't agree with. Hey, it is what it is. That's how you come up with ideas. Man. One of those things, man. Ooh. Is he in here? No.
So you think you got SHTF figured out, huh? You think your plan's better than everybody else, right? You think you're going to be the one who succeeds in SHTF because of your plan, right? Wrong. The fact you think that you got everything figured out in SHTF situation is what's going to cause you to fail. The fact is, you have no idea what's going to happen when the shit hits the fan. You have plans, you have preparations, but none of these really matter at the moment because the shit isn't exactly hitting the fan. You aren't in a situation, not even close, and you can't even mimic the situation. Not like as real as it could be. The point being in this is that improvision is going to be your best ally in this situation. You have this I'm better than you type of mentality out there. Some people, not all of you, but some people. And that is the mentality that's going to get you killed right away. You feel so secure about it without it even happening that when it does happen, it's going to hit you even worse than anybody else. Improvision, the person who improvises the best when the SHTF happens, will be the person who is more likely to succeed. It's a dream that we're talking about. Thought, plan, folding, collapsing, all his animals and his livestock dying, losing all his ammunition, his guns, all those things. People giving up his location that he's connected with or affiliated with. The man or woman who is free in the mind and can improvise on a dime will be the successful people. And you got to have your toys. So with some food. But people are going to be coming for you. When the lights go out and they're coming through your windows and they're coming through your doors, that's when it counts. And that's what you cannot prepare for. In order for improvision to work well and plan through improvision on the spot, a free mind is very important. And being in shape if you can. I know a lot of you frown upon trying to get in shape, but I can't stress it enough. try to run a mile at least once a month if you can. But preparation is part of the game. No matter how much you prep, improvisation could mean life or death. It probably will. Just my opinion. Have a good night, guys. Keep working hard. Every one of you. I know we got a lot of drama out there in the world and in YouTube. But that's okay with me because we all got to learn from each other. And that's just the way it is, whether you like it or not. Have a good night.
Well, regardless, if you actually like, hold on for a second. If you could prepare for anything, you could have like 100,000 rounds of ammo. It doesn't matter if it's 9mm, 40 S&W, 5.56, 223, 308, 30, 45, 70. You can be prepared, but when it comes to the real stuff, like when it's real, I mean, I agree with you, Apocalyptic Ben 3311. You got to improvise on situations like that. You do. But you got to think about the possibility if the opposition is actually intelligent or not. Prime example, there's some criminals out there who are just as intelligent as ATF agents or cops. That's just the way it is. What's up, Billy? Sorry, Alex G. Sorry about that. We definitely need to stay out of that problem. We actually do in the what's going on over there in Ukraine. I don't know. Maybe it's going to be dragged on, that it's not going to be serious. But then again, this anti-Russian sentiment could play a big role in the years to come. Look at what happened in the Cold War. There was anti-Soviet sentiments, and the Russians had anti-American sentiments. It's like we're living in Cold War all over again, but it's 2.0. Man. Who else?
Afternoon, y'all. Hope you all are well. Hope spring has finally reached your homestead or wherever you may be, and good things are in your future. So I'm sitting here thinking to myself, Good Friday's coming up. For a lot of people, that's a paid holiday. A lot of people, it ain't. I'm going to jump on taxes again. And again, this is for anybody that may stumble across this video and just cause them to say, wait a minute. So you got Good Friday coming up. And if it is a paid holiday for you, it doesn't pay that well anymore, does it? Thank you, Trump. Because it files under a bonus now, which gets in a different tax denomination. But I'm sitting here thinking about it. April's upon us. Everybody's running around trying to get their taxes taken care of. And how much time do you spend throughout the year saving receipts, whether they're on paper or they're through email, marking everything up? Use this for that. Categorizing every little thing that you do just so that when you go meet the middleman, your tax prep or your CPA, whatever you or however you go ahead and get it done, show them, see, I did all this and bought all this stuff, and it was for that. So I get more of my money back. And that only goes so far, because once you hit a certain limit, especially if you're an individual that has their own business or buys their, travel mechanic, whatever the case might be. Once you've done all that, your public servants go one step further. They've capped you. Now, this is common knowledge. I understand that. Your public servants go one step farther and they say, you know what? I think we're going to let the budget get unbalanced, and we're going to let it sink even further into the ground. So now, even if you've gotten a raise, everything else goes up. So that money that you might have gotten a raise for, or the money that you work for, that your supposed time is worth, your effort is worth, the stress you deal with on a daily day is worth, now it's worth less. The government says, it's not our problem, you deal with it. But don't you dare get out of line and screw up your W-2 or your 1099. Don't do that. Oh no. If you do, we'll come down on you hard. And we'll garnish those wages that we've pretty much deflated, made into bullshit to begin with, and we'll really put you out. We'll really make it tight for you. Because we're working for you. So, one might say, well, you stated the problem. What's your solution? Well, there's a couple of different solutions. There's a couple of different options you can take. But where's it going to get you? Are you going to stop paying taxes? Then what? Okay. So you get away with it for a little while. Hide money, get it under the table. Then all of a sudden, somebody at their computer in a big federal building says, wait a minute, we haven't seen any activity out of this individual in a while. Let's go investigate. Two, you can go ahead and
I'm watching Redbone Smith's video that he uploaded earlier today. Like, I think that's a good point, because a lot of these people who keep on saying, oh, let's just stop paying taxes. Well, it's going to be hard to do, because you're paying for sales tax, property tax. You're paying for taxes taken out of your freaking paychecks. You got Medicaid, Medicare, local, state, and federal taxes taken out of your freaking paychecks too. And other taxes taken out as well. And then, like you said, well, this individual, somebody in some big government building, is looking on the computer and says, oh, so-and-so hasn't been active in a while, so we got to investigate. You really think you're going to get away that easily? You really think that? That's, oh my gosh.
diversify your money and hide it and play the tax game. But again, you're playing their game. And it's with money that they're devaluing. And if they find out about that, then you have another two options. You can either A, tell them you all can suck a fat one, and you're going to have to get it the hard way, which they're prepared to do. But are you? And B, you say, okay, you do a little bit of time in jail, And then for God knows how long, your wages are garnished, and I believe that files under a federal statute law. And you get to try and rebuild, continue playing the game. I don't know if that's a very positive outcome on either side.
Not really. That's another idea for me to do. That's for another video. Like, I mean, you all can sit around and say, "Oh, we're going to stop paying for taxes." You realize that's going to be difficult to do, right? Difficult. So one day you just say, "I'm going to stop paying for taxes," but then you catch yourself paying for property taxes, sales taxes, taxes taken out of your freaking paychecks. What next? Well, that's all I have to say as well. Billy. Yeah. Yeah, watch all the wannabe tough guys say, "You living in your mom's basement?" Yeah, you live in your mom's basement. Uh-huh. The subject is Kotaboy32 Tactical being a jackass, and of course, I watched Redbone Smith's video where he said, people, it just really bugs me when people say, "Oh, we're going to stop paying for taxes." Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, sure. That's when you say that now, but then you give it time, and somebody somewhere in the government entity is going to be like, "Well, Brad, something hasn't been paying his taxes. Guess we got to go to his house and see how things are going." And then if he tells us he's intentionally not paying for taxes, then we got to take his ass to jail. Are you prepared to spend time in jail? I mean, all you people saying we got to stop paying for taxes. Are you prepared to spend time in jail? I seriously doubt it. Just like I seriously doubt that you're serious when you go around and say, "Oh, I'm going to use self-defense." Yeah, okay. Sure you are. I doubt it. I wonder what armed scholar.
USAA is made for the safe pilots, like Sergeant Hayden, who won't return a call until the engine's cool. With USAA Safe Pilot, when you drive safe, you can save up to 30% on your auto insurance. USAA, what you're made of, we're made for. Get a quote today.
Oh, I don't know how to do that live panel thing. You mean in the community tabs?
So 22 states have joined together to demand that the Supreme Court finally take up a case which will put an end to the ATF's Second Amendment violations. So let's talk about this. But real quick before we jump to this video, if you think the ATF needs to be abolished, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. Also, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Sonoran Desert Institute. SDI.
I'm not going to subscribe to you, armed scholar, self-proclaimed armed scholar, scholar, whatever. I ain't going to subscribe to you. I'm not going to like your video. Sorry, not going to happen.
Is an accredited online college that helps students learn the skills and techniques they'll need to be successful in the firearms industry. So if you enjoy gun repair, ballistics, and learning about
StreamYard, I would like to do that, but I need to know how to do it first.
Firearms, SDI might be a good option for you. To find out more, you can use the link down in the details section, and thank you again, SDI, for sponsoring this video. So I guess in the intro, 22 states have joined together to file an amicus brief to the Supreme Court. The 22 states effectively argue in their brief that it's finally time for the Supreme Court to strike down the ATF's continued Second Amendment violations. This brief by the 22 states was filed in the GOA v. Garland case, which challenges the ATF's interpretation of bump stocks as actual machine guns. The 22 states who joined together in this brief are Montana, West Virginia, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, Idaho, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. Now, although this case deals directly with bump stocks, the larger implication of this case is really a challenge to the ATF's arbitrary interpretation and rulemaking process, which results in the agency being able to ban whatever firearms and devices that they choose. For many years, the ATF had correctly concluded that the NFA and GCA's definition of the term machine gun does not include devices like bump stocks. However, after the Las Vegas incident, the ATF, after being ordered by then-President Trump, decided to arbitrarily change the regulatory definition of machine gun so that bump stocks would be considered to actually be machine guns. This new rule took effect in March of 2019, and therefore, under federal law, owners were required to either destroy the devices or to surrender them to the ATF. This change in definition made possessors of bump stocks
If I had a machine gun, a freaking bump stock, FRT trigger, solvent trap, auto key card, all that stuff that they deem to be illegal to have or be machine guns, I'm not going to give them away so easily. Look, I know some people may say, well, you're not going to do anything, Red. Bullshit. I will. And I don't care if I live or die in the process. I don't care. I will protect what's mine. That's just how I am. I seriously doubt you would actually stand by, you, especially you cop bootlickers, I seriously doubt you would stand by and let the cops shoot your dogs or your cats. I seriously doubt that. I'm pretty sure after your dog or dogs and cats have been shot by the cops, your beloved cops, I guarantee you will be fuming. Big time.
Subject to punishment of 10 years in prison and or a fine of $250,000 if they fail to destroy or to surrender the devices. Effectively, the ATF made possession of a device a felony overnight simply because they said it was now illegal. Now, the case here is a challenge to the ATF's final rule on bump stocks, which was led by GOA. This case was determined in favor of the ATF at the district court level and eventually made its way up to the Sixth Circuit en banc panel. After hearing oral arguments, the Sixth Circuit issued their order, and it was a rare deadlocked 8-8 decision. So essentially, since the Sixth Circuit en banc panel was deadlocked, the tie went in favor of the ATF, who had won at the lower court level. This split between the judges on the Sixth Circuit came down to the pro-ATF side, saying that Chevron deference supports their interpretation of bump stocks as machine guns, since the term, in their opinion, was ambiguous. In contrast, the other side of judges says the term is not ambiguous, and bump stocks were never intended to be included in the term machine gun as defined. This side also argued that courts have improperly used the doctrine of Chevron instead of using the rule of lenity when criminal punishments were at stake. If you're not aware of what Chevron deference refers to, Chevron deference is a term coined after the landmark case referring to the administrative law principle that compels federal courts to defer to a federal agency's interpretation of an ambiguous or unclear statute that Congress has delegated to that specific agency. So when a statute has ambiguous terms, the agency responsible for enforcing that statute may be able to determine what the term was intended to mean as long as their interpretation is rational or reasonable.
So in other words, suing doesn't do shit, but take up everybody's time. That makes sense. Well, I'm glad to know that I've been right all of this time. The courts is where our rights have been compromised the most. I've been right all along. And you people still rather fork over your taxes for those lawsuits. By all means, more power to you.
In contrast to Chevron deference, the rule of lenity indicates that when dealing with a statute that has criminal implications, a court is required to apply any unclear or ambiguous term in a way that is most favorable to the people, not the enforcement agency. At stake in this case is the ATS interpretation of the definition machine gun. One side says that under Chevron, courts should defer to the ATS interpretation that bump stocks are machine guns. The other side says, first, that Chevron doesn't even apply because the term machine gun is very clear in the statute, and the definition clearly indicates that bump stocks are not machine guns. This side also says that even if the court were to find the term machine gun ambiguous, the rule of lenity would direct a finding in favor of the people, not the ATF, since there are serious criminal implications at stake with that interpretation. Now, in response to the Sixth Circuit's deadlocked opinion, and after that ruling, GOA decided to file for Supreme Court review, and that is currently where this case is at. This case is still making its way through the process, but 22 states have now joined into this case, arguing that the Supreme Court finally needs to address this issue. In their brief, the 22 states make three main arguments. First, that the court should clarify the interplay between Chevron and the rule of lenity. Second, that the application of Chevron to a criminal statute implicates serious separation of power concerns. And third, that an agency's interpretation should not receive deference when it diminishes a fundamental right. In the first
I'm going to be the first one to tell you, Armed Scholar, you're not going to like the Supreme Court's ruling because the Supreme Court is widely known to compromise on people's rights. Look at the Heller versus District of Columbia case in 2008, where they finally acknowledged that we have an individual right to keep and bear arms, but some judge who is dead now, whatever, it is what it is. I'm not going to cry or be happy because he's dead, but I don't care either way. He said that rights are not unlimited. I say otherwise. Rights are unlimited. He believes that they're not unlimited. I say different. You're not going to like the outcome, dude. I'm telling you. They are clowns, Billy. They are clowns. You got the Armed Scholar. Yeah, I wonder where the feds are. I wonder where the lurkers are. I wonder where all the haters are. Anyways.
First argument section, the 22 states argue that, like Chevron, the rule of lenity presumes that two reasonable interpretations of a statute exist.
Let me be direct. Some people are paying more than double for teeth straightening with Invisalign. And then there's Smile Direct Club. You get a smile you love directed by one of their doctors with a liner sent directly to you. So the savings go directly to you. 60% less than Invisalign. And Smile Direct.
But the similarity stops there. The rule of lenity gives the benefit of the doubt to the criminal defendant instead of the government. But Chevron is the mirror opposite. It gives the benefit of the doubt to the agency. even if an individual might reach a reasonable but different interpretation of the rule. The doctrines are thus operating at cross purposes. Giving persuasive effect to the government's interpretation of criminal statutes would turn the normal construction of criminal statutes upside down, replacing the doctrine of lenity with a doctrine of severity. Therefore, the states argue that the rule of lenity should always be considered at a step before Chevron deference. And after the rule of lenity is considered, if the court finds that it doesn't apply, then they can move on to look at Chevron. In the second argument section, the 22 states argue that using Chevron when criminal charges are implicated creates a serious separation of power issue. In this section of the argument, the states hit on a big issue that we as gun owners have been pointing out for a very long time. That is, if courts use Chevron to simply defer to the ATF's interpretations, then the ATF goes simply unchecked. If courts give deference to the ATF's interpretation automatically, not only are the courts saying that the ATF gets to decide what the law is, but also they then get to enforce their own interpretation, which carries with it very serious criminal charges, often felonies. Effectively, that makes the ATF the judge, jury, and executioner, which obviously isn't right. However, that is how the ATF has been operating, and that's why you see the agency aggressively going after various items like 80%ers, bump stocks, pistol braces, triggers, and solvent traps. All of those attacks are a direct result of the ATF's unchecked interpretations, and the rule of lenity is really what needs to be used to prevent that from happening anymore.
You do realize why 1% of MCs hates the ATF, right? There's a good reason for that.
More. Finally, the states argue in their last section that the ATF's interpretation should not receive deference since it diminishes a fundamental right to keep and bear arms. They argue that the Supreme Court has long recognized in the constitutional doubt canon that courts should construe statutes to avoid interpretations, even reasonable ones, that raise serious constitutional concerns. The state's position is that interpretations like the ATF's should be per se unreasonable when they impair fundamental rights, especially in the criminal law context. The argument here is a basic one, but it's very profound. Courts should not defer to an agency's interpretation when that interpretation would directly weaken, impair, or lessen a fundamental right. If an agency's interpretation weakens a right, well, then the interpretation should automatically be dismissed and found unreasonable. So that's a quick rundown of the brief filed by the 22 states in the ATF bump stock ban case. The main thrust of these states is that the ATF has been allowed to decide willy-nilly what the law is and then enforce it against Americans. These states argue it is finally time for the Supreme Court to use its powers and pretty much put a check, like our checks and balances, our natural checks and balances, on ATF overreach and these types of actions. So we will see.
And say you succeed. Let's say the Supreme Court rules in favor, like hands down in favor of for the gun owners. The ATF is still going to, overstep their bounds regardless. Come back to earth, dude.
See if the Supreme Court is persuaded by the 22 states in their brief, but regardless, it's nice seeing states join together to fight against the ATF and their overreach. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment down below, and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. Also, if you like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel Al Gore's rhythm. It adds fuel to his jet, and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of two-way news. Again, I want to thank everybody who likes, comments, subscribes, who hits the notification bell, who shares.
Yeah, whatever, dude. You don't know what you're talking about.
How was work? Yeah, I think you should get home now, Devin.
There's nothing going on, Stuart.
I said go home. Get back on San Vicente, take it to the 10, then switch to the 4. 4 and 5. North, to Milan, where you belong.
Thanks for helping me put away these sundry tomatoes in this clay box.
The fact that a violent act took place. But what's funny in a not so ironic way is that it runs parallel to the anti-gun agenda that emanates from the left. They always capitalize on situations like this in an effort to try to steer this narrative that somehow we have a gun problem. Well, we have a problem, and the problem that the Democrats and these leftists and these communists have is their inability to control you and I. That's their problem that they have with you and I, is that they have that inability to get over that threshold, that firewall that we talk about continually on this channel. And you know what? I have no problem telling you this, that it's too bad. They're going to just have to deal with it. They're going to have to come to the realization that we live in a constitutional republic, and that the rights of the individual come before the rights of a collective or a group or this whole greater good that gets spouted out and gets talked about. Have you ever noticed that it always comes from the left? They always talk about this greater good. When was the last time any of those leftists sacrificed anything for the greater good? This is a rhetorical question I've asked quite a bit since the beginning of the coronavirus lockdowns and the masking mandates and the sacrifices that many private small businesses have had to make throughout all of this.
There's only so much stupidity I can take. This guy is so freaking stupid that he is. Oh man. Well, I gotta do some other things. I don't have time to listen to that bullshit. I don't. Y'all take care.